127.45, good day. Clearwing 561 Oakland Center, 127.45, good day. Contact Oakland Center on 119.75, good day. FedEx 436 Heavy, contact Oakland Center on 119.75, good day. 63 Heavy, Oakland Center, 119.75, good day. Center on FedEx 463 Heavy, Oakland Center, 119.75, good day.
Norcal Southwest 975 is with you, 2000, climbing to 19000.
Norcal Departure, good morning, radar contact. Southwest 975, Norcal Departure, good morning, radar contact. Skyway 3450, contact Oakland Center on 119.75. Have a good day. Contact Oakland Center on 119.75. Have a good day.
Southwest 1163, 1600, climbing via the Candle 4.
Departure, good morning, radar contact. Leave to 2000 restriction time. Southwest 1163, Norcal Departure, good morning, radar contact. Leave to 2000 restriction time. Audible 190. Right turns right deadhead. Southwest 975, right turns right deadhead. Southwest 1163, left turn to a heading of 180, maintains level 190. Southwest 1163, left turn to a heading of 180, maintains level 190.
Norcal 765, heads back to the
Roger, north of the Vfr Rules Plaza in the Mormon Temple, in route to Livermore. Roger, north of the Vfr Rules Plaza in the Mormon Temple, in route to Livermore. I'll get the information to Livermore in a second. I'll get the information to Livermore in a second. At Livermore. And Foxtrot turn at Livermore. Southwest 975, contact Oakland Center on 125.85. Have a good day. Southwest 975, contact Oakland Center on 125.85. Have a good day.
Southwest 1163, proceed back to Intel. Southwest 1163, proceed back to Intel. Southwest 1163, contact Oakland Center, 127.45. Southwest 1163, contact Oakland Center, 127.45.
Flight 237, Norcal Departure, good morning. The San Francisco altimeter is 3014. American 345, Norcal Departure, better contact. Good morning. RV 10200, Norcal Approach, good morning. San Francisco altimeter is 3014.
All right. So I will make another reminder here shortly, but I am in Discord, XP11 Discord. And because I have my Orbix True Earth North California on a HHD drive, it takes a little longer to load. So I'm figuring I'm going to do this FS Economy. So I'm going to get the fuel set up because I already know the flight plan. And I'll go over the flight plan specifics. And let me see. Is this done yet? Almost. Let's get the fuel calculations. Hang on, I'm trying to figure something out. All right, fuel 872. So here's the thing about fuel with FS economy. If it's a turboprop, you want to take the pounds and divide it by 6.5. If it's a regular prop, like a Cessna 172 or something, then it's divided by 6. The difference being 6.5 is the weight of jet fuel per pound. 6.5 pounds equals 1 gallon of jet fuel, whereas regular fuel is 6 pounds per gallon. So we're going to do 872 divided by 6.5 equals 134. So we'll just I'll round that up to 130. I'll do 134. So we can go to FS economy. I'll go to my flight. Go to Mathers. Here's the plane that I own. So I'm going to rent the plane that I own. That doesn't cost anything if you own it, obviously. So we're going to go to refuel. I'm going to go with the cheaper one since I pay for it. So CENTCON. And we're going to bump that up to 134. Now we got no seat. We got 5 on board. The weight is 1020. But that's 5 passengers. So 5 times, we'll say 30 pounds per passenger. So 150 pounds of cargo. 150 pounds of cargo with 1020, so plus 1020 is 1170. So that's our pounds. And then the fuel is 134. That's 1170. Okay. Connect my weather. And I'm gonna hit my be right back. I'm gonna log in. Alright, so connect.
Connected to PilotEdge.
All right. Are you there? Tom, are you there? If you could type or could type, I guess. Let me see if you're in here. No, just me in Discord. So let's let me see. This is be a black screen for a couple seconds while it loads the whatever. It's only I only have to do this once. Usually I do studio mode, but I forgot to do that earlier. Hey, Tom. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure you were there before I continued. So the only thing I've done so far, I'll show you. That way you won't feel like you missed anything. When in this economy, you probably made an account by now. And I own this plane. I have 2 airplanes. I lease the Eclipse for $20,000 a month, and then I own the Cheyenne. So my monthly owner fee is $2,400. But anyway, I went in and I got my fuel calculations. So I put 134 gallons of fuel in here for this flight. And the way I get the fuel calculations, and I'll give you this website, SimBrief. Let me just go there. So this is a great website for all of your flight planning needs. Like, it's got everything. So, I mean, I could do an entire stream just to cover this, and I can at some point. But
Cool. Hello.
oh, you're in Discord now, right?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I've seen SimBrief before. It looks very cool.
Okay, cool. All right. And for those others that are logging in, feel free to join up in the X-Plane Learning Center's Discord channel. You can find it on Facebook group X-Plane Learning Center. There's a Discord channel, and you'll see that if I can make that, whatever. There we go. Me and Tom are in the flight training chat. So if anyone has questions, I will do my best to answer the questions. And we're just going to cover a few fundamentals here today, just basics, and I'll answer questions. So anyway, I know this is a tech route, and I'll show you how I got the tech route. But first, I want to show you how I do my calculations. For small turboprops, such as the Cheyenne, I just use the King Air, the C190 or C90 variant. And of course, I have other airplanes that I have set up for weights and takeoff weights and all that, specifically, like, you know, my favorite King Air, that Challenger, the 19D76, and then of course my favorite airplane, the A320. And then you just set the airframe, and then it does it does a really good job at calculations. So I know this tech route 7000. I'm not sure if we're going to do the tech route yet, but that's it. So create an OFP that will get the fuel. And then, like I was saying, I don't know if, hopefully y'all not having to hear me repeat myself again, but all right, 872. So for Jet A, or any kind of turboprop, uses jet fuel, not regular prop. So for jet, you divide the pounds by 6.5 for FS economy, because 6.5 is the weight of jet jet. And then 6.0 is the weight of regular, like a Cessna 172. You would divide the pounds by 6.0, and then that would give you your gallons to use for FS economy. So that's just how I got my fuel calculations. All right, so the question today, let me see, we're at MHR, Sacramento-Mathers, and we're going to Half Moon Bay. It's 84 miles. The weather's decent. It's not, there's a little bit of clouds, but we could probably do VFR with flight following. I'm going to show, we'll start off with VFR, and if we need to switch to IFR, we will, but I'll show both. All right. So let's say, I'm going to start off with tech routes because most people want to know how to do an IFR flight plan. So if you're flying turboprops, and if you fly on a professional network such as PilotEdge, and their service area is, if I can make this, their service area is pretty much the entire west side of the country. So you would have 15 hours of ATC service from ground up. And these are all the towered airports that they cover. And this is a separate subscription, but so each subscription, I started off with the Western Expansion Pack. And for this entire yellow area with all these towered airports like Friedman, or the red or Bravos is Salt Lake City. So all this is $20 a month. And then if you want just a ZLA, Las Vegas to Los Angeles, where you have a ton of airports, and this is where most of the training comes into play. This is $20 by itself. Now, if you want both, which is what I do, you pay a monthly subscription of $35 a month because it's discounted, obviously, if you get both. And the airspace and the ZLA, most people, the training for PilotEdge deals with the ZLA mostly. So let me see if I can find, where's the training? CAT rating. So CAT ratings is your VFR training, I ratings, IFR. So, and then they have the program overview that you could click on. So basically, if you follow these CAT ratings and you do them in order, they'll log it on your account. So that, you'll be able to, and you have to do them in order, otherwise it won't count. Like I've done all these, but I didn't do them in order, so I don't have any certifications showing on my account. However, I know all this stuff because I've done it. I just didn't know how to do it in order. So do these in order, that way you get credit for them. And before you disconnect from the network, you always make sure that the controller gives you credit. So before you disconnect, say, hey, did I get credit for Cat 1? They'll say, yeah, you are a pass or a fail, or these are all pass-fail things. And it starts off easy. You click on that. I mean, it's very, very intuitive. You just read it, go with it, and I'm here to help with questions. Now, I am by no means no expert, but I've been doing this for 2 years straight, twice a day. So I think I'm pretty good at this stuff. Anyway, so that's where you find the CAT ratings, and then the I ratings is about IFR stuff, right? Now, I got my training at VATSTAR, and I have certifications through VATSTAR, which I got my start on VATSIM, and this is like VATSIM. So if you wanted to fly anywhere out here on VATSIM, which is a free network, you won't have any air traffic controllers because it's free. Whereas PilotEdge is you pay for it, so you're guaranteed ATC 15 hours a day. And Tom, you would be good. I think it's done on Pacific time. So if you were to sign up for this stuff, this is all Pacific. So those are the hours. So you'd have to make a decision if this is worth it, because now they are going to be eventually staffing positions in Europe. in England and all those places are out east. So you will have PilotEdge eventually out there. They just don't know when, but it is in the works. They're going to do England before they do the Northeast. I do know that for well, I've heard that at least. Can't say for a fact. All right, so let's get back to, so how do we get from, let's say we want to do IFR because it's really cloudy. We'll just say that. So you right click and you bring up Mather Field, and Mather Field does not have any SID, so you don't have a departure procedure, only approaches and a star, an arrival. So the first thing you need to do is look for a ODP, which is an obstacle departure procedure, and you find them in takeoff minimums. So this is MHR, so I just do Control F and then MHR, and then I should be able to zoom in here. So the main thing you look for is departure procedures, and it has to be, the runway has to be included. So in this case, we'd be good. So 4 left, 4 right, and 20. So all runways have a departure procedure, but takeoff obstacle is not something that air traffic control can use as an IFR clearance from an airport. So not all airports have departure procedures for IFR departures. So if you don't see departure procedure, then you have to take off VFR and pick up your IFR in the air, or you just don't take off if it's too cloudy. So for example, like we're going to Half Moon Bay, and I know Half Moon Bay has an ODP, but only for one runway. So, you know, you have runway 12 and 30, and you can see the direction like this. This is 12 and then 30 coming from the other direction. So with that, you have two runways that you could choose, right? But let's come here. Let's get rid of that. We'll come back to it. Takeoff minimums. Search HAF, and there it is. So you have a departure procedure for runway 12, but runway 30 is not applicable or whatever. You can't use that as an IFR. So if the winds were favoring runway 30, you would have to take off VFR. So it has to be clear weather for you to use that runway. Otherwise, you could take off in cloudy conditions and not see anything as long as you use this departure procedure. So then you got to look for the first waypoint that this procedure uses, which was, I think that's, I don't remember, but anyway, that's the VOR that you would use. But we're going the other way. So let's go back to MHR. So any of these, so the wind at MHR, three 320 at 4. So whichever way this little thing is facing is the way the wind is coming from. So you would take off and land going north, what's that, west? Going northwest. That's the way that the wind is coming out of that direction. Believe it or not, that confuses people to know which way the winds are coming from because they look at that. So I use that as that's the direction I want to land in or take off in. So that airport, it's so the wind's coming from up there, so it's basically a crosswind, right? So you can take off on any runway you want. So we're going to use 22 right because it doesn't really matter. The winds are pretty calm. So what's the procedure? So we're going to use 22. So we're going to climb direct to the Sacramento VOR. And then whatever the tech route is. And the Bay Area, you need tech routes. So you use this supplement. I'm going to give you this link. So I'm going to paste that there. So you would use this supplement and you would look for the, like, this is the Southwest, and you look for the most current date. This is a different area. Let's, like, this is, well, that's not even know what that is. So you click on this one, the most recent PDF, and then you would search. Let me see. It's tower and route control, I think. All right. I'll just write tower and route control. So tower and route control, which is tech routes, starts at page 500. So we're going to go down to 500. It's way down here. Northern California. So it actually gives you a little map. So all these airports, if you fly between these airports, then you are by the FAA or the AIM, whatever handbook you want to reference, says you got to use tech routing, IFR tech routes, which is basically the approach will be handling all the traffic, typically no centers. It can happen, but in my experience, it's mostly going to just be NorCal approach that will handle all of these airports. So we're going from Mather's Field. So one thing we got to look at is the aircraft classification. We are using a turboprop, so we're M class, cruise speed 190 or greater. So let's say you wanted to fly a Cessna 172. So that would be a prop P, non-jet. Well, actually, for a 172, it would be this one. So it would be Q. So that's the first thing you need to know is which aircraft you're going to be identified with. In our case, will be M. And then we look for the departure airport, which is MHR. So it's MHR to Half Moon Bay. So this is obviously the ICAOs of the airports, which are in the United States. All airports start with a K, and then like where you are, Tom, I think they might start with L or some other identifier. But the first,
Yeah, I think it is Al, as I recall.
It's L. Okay, so I know the first identifier is your country code. In the United States, for general aviation aircraft, your identifier would be November. And overseas, I don't know what it is, but I know it's not November. But if your plane is registered in the United States, it's always going to start with November for GA aircraft. And then the airports start with K. And then the MHR is the ICAO, whatever that is an acronym for something. So where'd I go? Back up. Okay, so we're going to Half Moon Bay. So this would be the tech route ID. So this would be the route. Now, this is very interesting to know about tech routes. There is a rule in aviation that says if you're flying, regardless if you're going VFR or IFR, if you're flying west, you will fly at even numbers. So, 8,000, 10,000. If you're going east, it's odd numbers. If you're going west and you're flying VFR, it's even numbers plus 500. So if I wanted to go VFR west, it could be like I could fly anywhere in even numbers plus 500, 6,500, 8,500, and vice versa, 1,500. And naturally, VFR, everything is under flight levels. And flight levels start in the United States at flight level 180, which is 18,000. Where you are, Tom, most cases they start at 5,000 feet MSL. And so anything less than transition altitude, you will use a barometric pressure, your altimeter setting. Once you get above your flight level, regardless if you fly in the UK at 5,000, you'll switch to standard. Same thing in the United States at 18,000, you switch to standard. Standard is 29.92. And then you go, otherwise you go with the altimeter. So right now the altimeter for Mathers is, it's hard to read that, 30.10. And overseas they have a Q&H. It's be like 1019 pressure.
Yeah, it's in millibars or something, isn't it?
Millibars, that's right. Okay. So let's say we grab these waypoints. Now Victor Airways, primarily they're used for airspace under class alpha airspace, which is anything lower than 18,000 because they're VORs and they're radio signals. So above 18,000 you would find jetways, J or G, but below 18,000 it'd be Victor Airways. And then you can file Victor Airways above flight level 180 if you have no other good routing available. But in most cases, or all cases on tech routes, well, I keep saying all, it's never all, but it'd be a Victor Airway. So we'll copy that and we'll paste it in here. And that's basically our tech route. Now, the reason I brought up westbound evens is that tech routes don't go by the rules. Here's an M, P, and Q class all fly at 7,000, even though they're going westbound. So it's kind of funny that the tech routes can break the rules, but they do it for traffic purposes and obstacles and everything else. And obstacles in aviation is mountains. When you're in clouds, you don't know if you're going to fly into a mountain. And that there's also a difference, like if you're going from Half Moon Bay, that depends on the direction of San Francisco. So let's say we were going to go the other way. Let's see if we can find it. Half Moon Bay, Oakland, Sacramento. Here we go, Half Moon Bay. And then if we were going to go to MHR. So here's Half Moon Bay to MHR. San Francisco operating in west flows. If San Francisco is operating in west flows, you would file this one. If San Francisco is flying or landing east flows, then you would file this. And then of course, here you are going eastbound at 5,000. So that's correct, it's odd. But this one is even. So tech routes have their own method for altitudes. So that's a big one. All right, let me go. So if you wanted to do this VFR, these are great tools at the top. You got World VFR, which to me is a little bit more difficult to read. So I prefer San Francisco Fly because it will give you a lot of the flyways, the VFR flyways, and it's just easier to read the airspace. So click on San Francisco Fly, and this tab won't be available unless you're actually like kind of centered over the area. Like if you come down here, it goes away. So you got to be centered in the area that you want to fly, and then that option will be available. And then you got these quick visual, northeast or below 5,000 for this, below 4,000. And these are flyways that you can fly VFR. You don't have to talk to ATC if you don't want to. You just have to abide by these restrictions. And then Bravo airspace, real quick, is blue. Charlies are magenta. And deltas are blue, but they're dotted lines. So like this is a dotted line, so that's a Delta class airport. Oakland is a Charlie. So Charlie in the middle. It's funny, it looks like you and one other. Some people don't like instruction when I stream, but I get a lot more views on my YouTube because of it, because people want to specifically cover something. But for streaming purposes, most people like the actual flight. I'm going to fly, but anyway. So this means surface to 10,000 because to Bravo. So this goes all the way up to the same as Bravo. Whereas San Jose only goes up to 4,000. And then Delta, you know the airspace by this little box, 2,000 feet. So San Carlos, this is the airspace. So you can fly over this airspace at 3,000 feet or below 4,000, but above 2,000. And you can fly over this airport without having to talk to this tower or anything like that. And that's what these flyways, or VFR flyways, are for, so you can navigate this Bravo and Charlie without busting any violations or whatever you want to call it. And then you have San Francisco TAC routes, which are these red arrows. And then you can read up on all those specific, like I know more about the TAC routes in the LA area because I don't usually.
How do you know when you should use a tech route or whether they exist in a particular area and so on and so forth?
Well, the TAC route is so you can bypass quick areas like, let me go to, like Los Angeles TAC. I like to use the coastal route. This one to me is the easiest. So this is a way that you can fly over the airport so you don't have to go around if you're a VFR. So that's these little red arrows, and you can zoom in to the TAC route and see you have mini route, C insert, coastal route, C insert. And a lot of the PilotEdge VFR ratings will actually have you do these TAC routes as part of your training. So you would just read this one like coastal route northbound. You'd enter the Los Angeles class Bravo northbound and beam the Vincent Thomas Bridge established on the Los Angeles 123 radial. So let's figure out where that is first. Actually, it might have actually shown, yeah, right here. So here's the Thomas Bridge. So you would stay outside because this is surface. So you don't want to 123. Where's the surface? So this is 5,000. This is surface here. So St. Vincent. So the radial, you would use the Los Angeles VOR and you would dial that in for that frequency on your nav1 or nav2. And then you'd put the course heading of the radial. So the radial would be 123. So then you would just do the radial inbound to cross over, but you have to get permission from, I think, Tower first. It's been a while since I've done this one. After crossing the Los Angeles VOR, proceed outbound on the Los Angeles 323 radial. So you just spin the course. It's the same VOR, 113.6, until exiting the Los Angeles Bravo near the, whatever that pass. Maintain altitude assigned by ATC. So you just tell the air traffic controller, SoCal, contact SoCal on 134.2. And those are the altitudes that they'll give you depending if you're going north or south. So the whole point of TAC routes is so you can transition through the Bravo and not have to go all the way around either way. So it saves time, and it's kind of fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Like let's see the cat ratings. I
So
know
in
the
essence, you don't have to take a TAC route. You can, but you might choose to.
correct. Yeah, TAC routes are volunteer. Like you don't have to do them, but um, they're called Bravo transitions. It's basically TAC routes. So the Cat 10, which is probably one of the most grueling certifications you can get on PilotEdge, covers that coastal route. So I mean, it's a lot of reading, but it's very well done, and they just go in order. So that's what a TAC route is. Which is different than tech, because the first part of this lesson was tech routing, TEC, and this is TAC. So TAC routing is for transitions. Tech routing is tower and route control. So it's just going between those airports. This is tech. So tech is different from TAC. TAC
Okay.
is VFR. Tech is IFR.
I see. Yeah. And
Um,
the tech is that also voluntary, or is that more mandatory?
That's mandatory if you have to fly IFR, because let's say it's overcast in the Bay Area, which a lot of times it is, and if you're flying between any of these airports, they will mandate you to file an IFR flight plan. But in this case, the IFR consists of tech routes. So these are IFR flight plans that are made for terminals, busy airport areas. So you won't find tech routes in, these areas out here, because it's not as much busy air traffic. Only in busy areas will you find tech. So like the Northeast around Boston, New York. This is here, I'll highlight this too. I use this to find tech routes. Boston Virtual does a good job with this. So like if I wanted to go Boston to JFK, do search, and it will bring up all this stuff. So these are, they call it preferred routes, but it's tech. These are all tech routes. And it gives you the altitude, the aircraft type. So you could go to the supplement pages, wherever I had put those, and you could find those. What do I do with them? Anyhow, so we're gonna file. Let's file this flight plan. So departure, it was, we'll double check, 3010 for the altimeter. So IFR is tech. IFR is any airways. If you have to fly through clouds, then you would use IFR flight plans, and that's all that tech routing is. But tech routing is for low level flying between airports that are close together. That's really the only difference. And then Half Moon Bay. All right. So we're gonna go to PilotEdge, and I can't remember if I signed in or not. Nope. Let me sign in real quick. Okay. So we're going to come over here and we're going to file this tech route. So the first waypoint has to be Sacramento because of the ODP. This is the ODP, Obstacle Departure Procedure, because it doesn't have a SID. You got to have a way to get off the ground to even use any IFR. So that's Sacramento. So the TAC route, I have too many windows up here. All right. MHR.
Yeah, and so as you were saying, if you couldn't do the takeoff VFR, you would be just unable to take off.
Correct. If it
from that
doesn't have this ODP, if it doesn't have a ODP, a departure procedure, if it doesn't say that, and if it's cloudy and you can't see squat, then you cannot legally take off. You have to have a departure procedure or a SID. You know, a SID could be like San Francisco has a ton of SIDs. If I can find, here we go. See, these are all departure procedures. There's a ton of SIDs, like the stick 4, which is an RNAV, which just means GPS. So this is a departure procedure. So even if it's thick fog, you can take off and you don't have to worry about hitting anything. So if you don't have a departure procedure and if it's foggy, then you're kind of screwed. So you have to have that. And most airports do, only a few don't.
Presumably only very small ones.
Very, very small ones, correct. Yeah. And FS Economy has a ton of little airports. So you might run into that problem every now and then. So you might have to plan for VFR conditions or whatever. I mean, I do everything real world weather. So I fly whatever the real world's doing. All right, so let me go back to my tech routes, wherever the heck they are. Here we go. So that was Oakland. Mathers. To half. All right, so the first waypoint is Sacramento, VOR, and you'll notice on the it's Sacramento onto ODP. So in this case, it's the same, but let's say this was separate. Move that over here. So let's say Sacramento was not the first waypoint for the ODP. So let's say this was something else. You would put this as your very first waypoint before you would do the tech route. So if there was a different waypoint for an ODP, that would go before this tech route. So that'd be the first waypoint, then you would go along this route. All right. So the tech route ID is Mathers 15. Get rid of that. So we'll just do tech 15, 7,000. We are a Piper turboprop. That's my aircraft registration. We're slant Golf. You're going to use two equipment types in most cases out of all these. Golf is GPS, like your G1000s, G5s, G530s, GTN 750s, any type of Garmin, you're going to be using a G. If you're in an airliner, you're going to use Slant Lima because that deals with FMCs, airliner type stuff, which like most L will be able to do RMP approaches, and that's a whole nother lesson. But most like Golfs, most of the time you wouldn't be able to fly an RMP approach because it's not equipped for it. But anyway, so if you have a GPS, you do G. If you're an airliner, you do L. That's the main two.
G for Garmin, L for liner.
That's a good way. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so we got our flight plan, tech route information. Don't have to, and you would. There's a rule for an alternative, and it's a weather-related rule. So if the weather is expected to be, well, I don't remember actually what the rule is, but I do know there's a rule. And so in this case, the weather's decent, so you don't have to file an alternate airport, but I could Google that at some point. But if the weather's bad, then you'd have to put an alternate. So we're going to file, and then we're going to go to the live map, and we'll show up there in a few. All right, so these are all the guys that are online. And then you have drones too. So if you fly on PilotEdge, you have a bunch of traffic called drones. And drones are like these people flying. Every flight they do, including this flight we're fixing to do, is recorded. So then what Keith, the developer of PilotEdge, he took these recorded flights and he replays them in real time to give the traffic controllers aircraft to warn you about. And these are all the drones. It takes a second to refresh, but these are all recorded airplanes that are really flying around. So there it goes. I just updated. So these things are flying, and it shows where they're going, the type of airplane, the flight plan, the airports they're going to, speed. So it's really cool. So you'll get air traffic control telling you where all these guys are, and you can see just how much traffic is in the ZLA. The ZLA is a TRACON. It's the approach controllers. ZLA is that's the ZLA, all the green. So these are different centers. Like this is Albuquerque, this is Denver Center, Salt Lake Center, Washington Center, and Oakland Center, and then Los Angeles Center. So all these are centers, and then you have TRACONs within the centers, which would be like approaches and below. Let me get rid of those because it makes it hard to see where we are. All right, so we are right here. So I click on it. There's our flight plan. So that just verifies that it's on file. And you can hide your name if you don't want it to show up, but I mean, I don't care. You could do that in the settings somewhere. All right.
So you're not sort of flying with other live aircraft. It's sort of more.
Well, these guys are live. Like everyone here is a real person. So these are
Okay.
people flying, with me. Like, this is me sitting on the ground, but this guy, he's a real guy like I am, and he's his name's Mike. He's flying an Airbus 321. That's his comm. His speed is 404 knots, and that's across the ground. That's not indicated. And then his altitude is 34,000. And he's going from San Francisco to Seattle using the Trunkin 2 departure, deadhead transition, red table, joining the Hawk 7 arrival, and to Seattle. So that's his flight plan.
So what are the drones then? Sorry, I missed that distinction.
Okay, so drones are little GA recordings. So like this guy, he's in a Cessna 172. And he's going from whatever CMA is to John Wayne Airport. SNA is John Wayne. So when he's done his flight, PilotEdge will have a recording of that, and it will play it again at some point in the future. So drones.
But that one's a real pilot because it's Tony.
Correct. No. The tiny airplanes are drones, which are recorded. Like you can see them, but they're not real people. So the bigger airplanes are real people. Like this is a real person, and this is a drone. It's currently 63 speed, 6,000 feet. So that's not real, but this guy is real. So the little tiny airplanes are just, you can see them in the sim, but they're not real people. Only like the bigger airplanes are real people. But I mean, it gives you traffic. So you look out the window, you'll see these guys.
I see.
So then when you hide the drones, then all you're left with are real people currently flying on the network. And on a weekend, this is like crazy busy. It almost looks like drones. It's just a ton of people on the weekends. And
Presumably they turn down the number of drones in that case.
probably there's probably some algorithm for that. All right, so I filed a tech route, but the weather is such. I'm going to go ahead and fly the tech route. It's just more fun. We'll get our clearance that way. But you could do, VFR if you wanted. So we'll go back to the sim over here. First thing I want to do is log in to FS Economy. Did I cover all that pretty well, Tom? I mean, I know it's a lot of information.
That's good. I don't think I'll remember all of it. But
No, it's a ton of information. I just was trying to hit like the basics of everything that would be everything you'd have to think about flying between at least these two airports.
yeah, no, it was very interesting. I knew some of it, but some of it was new.
Okay. And of course, FS Economy is going up. Oh, it logged in. All right, good. Sometimes FS Economy, they've updated their servers to that HTTPS, the security, and that has created some problems with connecting. But I own the plane, so I don't have to worry about rental fees. So we're going to start the flight. So I just loaded my passengers with the fuel. Where's the fuel? 134 gallons. So that's plenty of fuel. I'm going to adjust the weight to match the payload I want, which is 1170. And then I'll update that. You don't want to mess with the fuel if you're connected. You can mess with the weight. FS Economy does not care about weight. It only cares about fuel. So you could literally load, FS Economy will load the weight and then you can remove all the weight if you wanted to. It makes no difference. You just can't touch the fuel. And I'm going to get rid of the statics before I forget. And we'll close the baggage door. No, passenger door too. Oh, so for the settings, where's the thing I wanted to show you here? Flight configuration, AI aircraft, make sure there's 0. I've heard that causes issues, so I don't ever run with AI aircraft. I have an AI program that I'm using, like here. So I have AI aircraft flying around, like this guy. So I have my own AI. But
just not the standard AI.
yeah, right. So I don't let X-Plane have any AI. It just causes more problems than what it's worth. So I bought this AI program, Traffic Global, and just so I have busy airports. Of course, there's nothing at this airport. It's a small airport, but all my Bravos, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, they all have airliners taking off and landing all day. Because on PilotEdge, the airports are dead during the day. So I bought that just so my airports have some life to them. And I still, talk to air traffic control. We're connected right now to the network. So I have the drones and I also have the other AI. So I have a lot of airplanes to look around. All right, what's next? Does that load the plane? Doors are closed. Let's hop in here, open up the window, thread up, prop full, get this set up. that on. Trying to figure. There we go. It's off. Beacon on. Position light on. Carinardo aircraft. All right, so we'll do battery on. Nav lights. Seatbelt smoking. Oil cooler doors open for air. And then we've got brake is on. No fuel pressure yet. So fuel pump on. Here we go. We do ignition and starter, and at 16%, we'll introduce fuel. Coming up to 16, there's 16, so now we'll add the fuel. All right, we got to start, so we'll turn the the starter off, ignition off. Advance the power to about 68%, and then we'll check the gen real quick. 28. All right, now we'll do the same with the other side. Ignition, starter. Coming up on 16, there's 16, add fuel. Most turboprops, you go to low idle on the fuel. This is the Cheyenne. For whatever reason, it goes full fuel on this one. All right, so we'll do starter off, ignition off. Do both gens, we'll check the right, 28. Both gens are on. Battery showing 28 volts, we're good. I like to monitor prop and wing ice. That's just something I like to monitor because it definitely helps. And the other settings, VR settings, enable VR mouse cursor. I have that set to a keyboard, which I don't think it's aircraft specific when you're loaded into an aircraft, so it's not going to show, but you could do VR, toggle 3D mouse cursor in VR, but that's not your issue. Your issue is you can't get VR to come up. So the
I get VR to come up. So my VR comes up, but I don't get any kind of VR mouse cursor.
Okay, so I would make sure this is clicked. Enable VR mouse cursor, and then also go into the VR. Once you're loaded into an airplane, keyboard, type in VR, and then add, I use U key, U uniform, and that does it for me. That's the only thing I could think of other than the Steam VR.
Yeah, does the VR mouse cursor work in the menus for you as well?
Yes. So the main menu, like I guess general, well, the menu is a little bit different, but when I first load into VR, I click both of these. As soon as you click enable VR, it will automatically go to VR without even hitting done. So as soon as you click VR, it's going to go right to your headset, and then you're going to be in the VR settings screen. And then, so before you click on that VR button, you want to enable the mouse cursor, then click Enable VR.
Yes, I found that if you don't do that, you certainly can't do anything. But the problem I have is when I click Enable VR mouse cursor, nothing happens.
So you have no mouse cursor even with that checked.
Yeah, and with the button bound.
Do you have, well, I have two monitors. Actually, I disconnect my monitor. Do you have more than one monitor?
No, I've only got one.
You only got one? All right, so that's not the issue. So the only other thing would be maybe here. I'm not going to mess with it because you might want to check monitor stuff, unused. Make sure you don't have anything weird going on under the graphics, but it should just work right out of
Yeah.
it should. I don't. It's a mystery for you, that's for sure.
It is a mystery, right? I have no idea why it doesn't work.
All right, so we can come down here. We'll do on, auto, on. Don't need heater. And we'll turn on the avionics. So we'll do boom, avionics. So you always turn avionics on after you start the engines. Turn avionics off before you kill the engines. That's so you avoid damaging your avionics. And there's a lot of add-on aircraft that will simulate damaging your avionics if you do kill the engine before turning them off. Like there's rep programs, which is reality expansion packs, and those reps will damage your equipment if you don't handle the plane properly. All right, pull up this flight plan on my laptop here. So that's why I don't do a whole lot of VR with this, because I have to look at charts and ATC. It's just, I've got two monitors and a laptop going. All right, so Mathers. This is AV tab. This is good for VR and not in non-VR. It's linked to my Navigraph account.
Yeah, I've come across Altimeter before.
Yeah, this is a great program. I use it. Everybody uses this nowadays.
Everyone seems to use it.
Yeah, it's very, very popular. And with you have a plug-in and it will geo-reference your location. Is kind of cool. All right, so AWAS 1832, although I don't know if it will work here, but we'll try it. So we'll go to COM2, 1832. And then we need to turn on
Sacramento-Mather information Lima. 1800 Zulu weather.
So presumably you're
Wind
not
light
going
and
to
variable.
be
Visibility more.
contacting any kind of tower on PilotEdge, such as small field?
Correct. So the airport I'm at does not have, it's not a towered airport. So let me switch screens here. So these are like we're around here. So if I wanted ground up, I could have started, well, FS Economy doesn't allow it, but Sacramento, I could have started there and I would have had ground control and up, or Sacramento International, San Francisco, or Oakland. So these are all towered airports. But just like in the real world, you have airports that use CTAF advisories. So for airports that would normally be towered airports in the real world are treated as CTAF airports, like Half Moon Bay is a CTAF airport. So there is no tower airport communications at Half Moon Bay. You have a CTAF and a Unicom, which is the same. And in our case, Mather's Field would have a tower in the real world, but since there is no towered airport for PilotEdge, we use the tower as our CTAF.
And a CTAF.
It's CTAF stands for. Let me see if I can get the definition for that. Common Traffic Advisory Frequency. So the CTAF for Half Moon Bay is 122.8. So CTAF for Mather Field, CTAF 120.65. So that just means that's the channel you tune into to talk to other aircraft at this airport.
Whereas Unicom is...
And the Unicom is... actually, I don't know what that one means, honestly. Unicom is 122.8 for VFR. And then I always monitor guard, which is 121.5 on COM2. But so for taking off and landing, we'll talk on this channel, 120.65. So I'll get that dialed in. So if you go into a pattern, left base, left final, etc., we'll be using CTAF. Otherwise, we'll talk to clearance. We're going to have to talk to PilotEdge controllers via a simulated telephone call like you would in the real world. So we're going to be using 122.2, which is the same thing as a phone call. 122.2 only works if you're less than 35 knots. If you go over 35 knots, you won't be able to use it because it's simulating a phone call, and it's just for getting your clearances. So, what was that altimeter again?
Sacramento-Mather
3009.
information Lima. 1800 Zulu weather. Wind light and variable, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 10,000 few, 32,000 scattered, temperature 14, dew point 8. Altimeter 3009. Arriving runway 22 left.
Alright, so the elevation is 98, so we're within 75. As long as your altimeter matches within 75 of the airport's MSL, you're golden. So we'll get our clearance before we taxi. And we're on CTAF. One thing about CTAFs and IFR clearances, you don't want to. They'll put a IFR hold on this airport if I request a clearance right now. And IFR holds, just like in the real world, have one in, one out rule. So if I were to call in my clearance right now, he would probably tell me hold for release. And that means he can still land and take off other IFRs. If he gives me permission to take off, then there is an IFR hold on this airport, which means no one under IFR is allowed to land or take off. Only one in, one out at a time. Towered airports are obviously different, but for CTAF airports, it's one in, one out for IFR. Now that's not to say that VFR traffic can't land and take off. Only IFR are restricted. All restrictions are IFR. Alright, so let's check our flaps. Flaps are working. So, flight plan. I already have this tech route saved because I go back and forth all the time. I only got that warning because the flight plan is from a previous AirRIC, but it's a current AirRIC. I'm not worried about that. So there's our flight plan. It's all the same waypoints. It's not a biggie. So flight plan is entered. COM2 is active. We're monitoring guard. 121.5 is guard. So if you're flying VFR, you need to cold call ATC because of an emergency. You can always use guard. And we're gonna do that in a little bit. Well, not guard, but we'll talk to ATC in a little bit. check our test lights. Put that to high. Transponder. We need to get our let's get our clearance. So we're gonna do 122.2. Pop that over. And like I said, this is simulating a phone
November
call.
280 November, I'm ready for departure.
Number 280 November, Albuquerque Center, thanks for release for departure now. Clearance is void if not off by 19445 Zulu, time now 1926. If not off by 1945, call back with your attentions no later than 1950. Frequency change is approved.
Cleared for takeoff no later than 1945. Let you know if not off before 1950. Cleared for release 280 November.
So that's an
Thanks,
IFR
yeah, I can't clear you
hold.
for takeoff, I can only release you for departure.
Yeah, copy that. Sorry, I screwed that up. 280 November.
Screw that up. All right. So we're going to Half Moon Bay, and where's my notes at?
Did you
What's that?
contact the tower?
I'm going to right now.
Contact
Yeah, I'm going to call him right now.
1201 Portland is landing
so,
west. Descend
like I said, this
via
is
the crater to arrival, altimeter 3026.
we can hear him talking, but this still simulates a phone call when I call him up.
I can't hear him talking.
You can't hear the ATC?
No. Oh, no, I probably can. No, I know what it means.
I was going to say, if I've never had someone that says they can't do it.
What it is no.
Number 6 Tango Bravo, turn right heading
Now,
040.
Marcus is talking right now.
Three,
Can you
because
hear
I'm supposed
him?
to hear you in Discord.
Could you hear Marcus just say something then?
Number 4 Charlie Lima, contact Tri-Cities, correction, Chinook, departure, we'll see ya.
Yeah, I heard.
Okay, you do hear him. All right, cool. So that's the controller. All right, so I need to talk to him. Afternoon, NorCal approach, Cheyenne 1399 on the ground at Sacramento-Mathers with weather, IFR Half Moon Bay.
Number 234 Charlie Lima, Chinook, departure, afternoon radar, contact, climb and maintain 1000.
Problem is you don't always hear.
November 139er, NorCal departures, clear to Half Moon Bay Airport as filed. Climb and maintain 7000. Departure frequency 127.4. Squawk 1401. Hold for release.
Clear to Half Moon Bay as filed. Climb maintain 7000. Departure 127.4. Squawk 1401. Hold for release 1399er.
Number 139er, read back. Yes, correct. Just call me back. Ready to go. First in line.
We'll do 139. Thanks. All right, so now we can go back to CTAP because we got our
Number 6 Tango Bravo.
clearance. We're hold for release. That means we are not allowed to take off under an IFR. We could take off VFR, but it would be you gotta.
But you can't taxi.
No, we can taxi. Yeah, we can do anything we want on the ground. We just can't take off until we have permission. So all taxiing on the ground will be done through CTAP, and it's just using like a two-way radio to talk to anyone else that might be either in the pattern or also on the ground here at Mathers Field. That's the only purpose of CTAP is to talk to other pilots locally. That's the only purpose it has. All right, transponder.
Some of the DCS servers have the same convention.
Well, don't they use like a tower, like someone is handling tower on DCS?
Not all of them. Some of them are quiet fields you're just expected to announce.
Oh, okay. All right, so I put this on mode Charlie, as they say, which would be squawking altitude. Technically, you shouldn't squawk altitude until you're holding short of the runway because it puts out, radar. So, but in the sim, I always, or most of the time, I put on altitude when I set the code because I'll forget. And there's some airports that require squawk and altitude, like San Francisco is one of them. that even on the ground they want you to squawk altitude, whereas most airports only want you to have it on while you're taxiing around. All right, autopilot, I have a little cheat.
Just to make it complicated.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll do heading, and we're climbing to 7,000. Oh, that was VS, never mind. 2,000, we're going to 7,000. Vertical speed. This is like a little cheat. I only use this plane every now and then, so the autopilot on this plane sucks. So I have this cheater one that works pretty well. And the runway heading is 220. So put the heading bug on 220. Check the wipers. Good on fuel.
Something that I didn't know that one of my pilot friends told me was that you're not supposed to turn on the taxi lights until you're about to taxi. I'm sure you knew that.
Yeah, especially in like airliners, the pushback truck and the flag people waving in airliners, they want them to turn off their taxi lights because they'll blind them. And you don't want to have your taxi lights on in GA aircraft. So the only thing I have on right now are position and the beacon light. So just our nav lights and the beacon light to show that the engine is running. So as far as lights are concerned, those are pretty much the standards when you're sitting still. And then when you taxi, then you can turn on your, which we'll do now, on, and Rico lights are like, helps illuminate the taxiways. We'll leave that on beacon. Strobe is for taking off. Wing lights basically to look for ice on the wing at night. And we'll worry about the pitot heats, windshield heats. Well, we can turn the windshield heat on now. Pitot heat we'll do at the runway. Bring up these lights here. I use Track IR for taxiing. It just makes it real easy for me to taxi. All right, taxi lights on. I'm gonna do a U-turn. I'm in a 360 here. Make you dizzy. Alright, so now we're on CTAF, so I have to let the other airplanes know what we're doing. Mather's traffic, Cheyenne 139, taxiing to runway 22 right from North GA, Mather's traffic. So you always start with the airport name and traffic. So it could be like Half Moon Bay traffic, Mather's traffic, Sacramento traffic. Your call sign, type of airplane and call sign. So with GA, I would say Cheyenne 1399 or King Air 1399. Or you could go with the identifier like November 1399. But most of the time you'll say the type of aircraft, and ATC prefers that too, so they know what you're flying. And then if you're flying commercial, then you use the call sign United. I always go with United, and then 1399. Or if you want to use a different number, with commercial you combine the numbers. So for GA it'd be like 139er. Commercial, you combine it, it'd be 1399. For say 2506, it'd be November 2506. Or United 2506. So that's a difference. Commercial you combine, GA you just state the numbers individually, and that's US and overseas. That's the same rule. All right, check our stuff here. All that's working. Temperatures are all good. Brakes are touchy on this plane. So we'll come over here, we'll do a run up, and then we'll go back to the telephone call and let Norcal, we are ready to depart. He'll give us our IFR clearance, because right now we're on a hold. So he'll give us a clearance, and then we'll go back to CTAF and let local traffic know what we're doing, and then we'll go back to Norcal after that. All right, 1800 RPM. Fuel pressure, everything's good. Turn that to there. That's getting too high. Pneumatic pressure. Oh yeah.
Feel it's simulated where stuff can go wrong.
Yes, there's lots of airplanes that you have to go through these checks. I don't have failures on, but I still like to go through the checklists. But there's X-plane failures you can set up, so it's a good idea to go through these checks. But I don't like doing failures. Very rare do I do like a engine flame out or something. My enjoyment is the ATC, not having shit break on me. Oil cooler doors, I should have opened them. We'll close them now. Pitot on. Landing lights on. And strobe. Alright, now we got the strobes and landing lights on. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the telephone call.
We're 190 Mike Echo, Albuquerque, clearance on request. It's going to be full route, standby.
Norcal approach, Cheyenne 1399, holding short, number 1, runway 22 right.
Cheyenne 1399er, Norcal Departure, release for departure, clearance is void. If not off by 1955 Zulu, time now 1940. If not off by 1955, call back with your attention later than the top of the hour. Frequency change approved.
If not off by 1955, I'll advise, frequency change approved, 1399, see ya.
TB6 Tango Bravo taxi,
so
Ram Golf, Foxtrot, Echo.
He just gave us our departure clearance for an IFR, so we're no longer hold, but he gave me a window. So we have to be in the air by 1955 Zulu. If we're not in the air by then we need to call him back on the telephone to let him know, that we haven't departed yet. That way he won't send out the rescue teams. So we're on CTAF, so departure is 127.4. So we got that at our clearance. So when he gave us our clearance, he gave us our departure frequency, which is NorCal, but it's one that we use in the air. We won't be using the phone call anymore. So now we're going to use CTAF. Mather's traffic, Cheyenne 139, taking off runway 22 right for a straight out departure, Mather's traffic. All right, so we're good. Add in the torque, about 50%. Make sure the engines are stable. Everything's green. Slowly add in torque. Going to rotate about 100 knots. Rotate. Gear up. Technically, you can't make a turn until you're 400 feet above the ground, and then you can turn. So we're just going to head straight to Sacramento. We're following the ODP first, which is direct to Sacramento, and then we'll assume the tech route from there. Alright, so let's go to GPS Sacramento. We're pretty much already on course. We're going to go nav, and then we're going to go to Norcal Departure. So I switched that over to Norcal, and we'll check in with him. Norcal Departure, Cheyenne 1399, passing through 2,600 for 7,000.
1399er, Norcal Departure, ident please. Number 77 Lima, Phoenix clearance, standby. Number 1399er, thank you. Radar contact 9 northeast of Sacramento Vor, executive altimeter 3011.
3011, 1399. So we use the altimeter he gives us because that's what he's going to base our altitude off of as the executive, which is SAC. When you check in with ATC, you give your current altitude and assigned altitude. We were assigned 7,000 by the tech route, so I signed in whatever I was leaving for 7,000. And then when he said ident, that's basically giving a flash. You don't have to say you're identing. If he says ident, you just do it. I have a button assigned for my transponder ident button, so that just will flash on his radar screen where I'm at, and then he'll, like he did, he'll give back the altitude I'm showing and the current altimeter. So let's do prop sync on.
November 77 Lima, Phoenix clearance, cleared out of the Phoenix Bravo airspace, maintain VFR below 3,500 until advised. Departure on 119.2, squawk 4103.
Trying to turn down this volume. Let me see if I can turn that volume down a little bit on my plane. But you don't want to pause too long online.
This is Jet 77 Lima, readback is correct. Southwest 2037, contact Norcal Departure.
Marcus is loud, but what did you just say? I couldn't really hear you.
I was saying,
Alaska 1201, turn right, heading 250, descend and maintain 5,000.
Right 250, descend 5,000, Alaska 1201.
I can't hear you when he's talking.
Norcal, good afternoon, Southwest 2037, climbing through 5,700 via the 647, maintain 10,000.
Southwest 2037, Norcal Departure, thank you, radar contact, climb and maintain 50190.
That's a little better.
Climb, maintain 50190, Southwest 2037.
Alright, what were you, try that again, Tom?
So in DTS we often use a human ATC, but I never worked out exactly what things had to be read back. I got a fair idea.
Got 3417 Monterey Tower, runway 28 left.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's phraseology with ATC, and it's all very repetitive. It's made to get out the most information as possible within the shortest transmission. So I know, like, you'll hear on VATSIM, a lot of people will say with you and checking in and stuff like that. But on PilotEdge is a training server, so the phraseologies are made to just get out the information and not have all the extra stuff that you necessarily don't need. So the stuff you hear on PilotEdge is a little bit different than even in the real world. The real world is way more laxed than PilotEdge. PilotEdge will be like,
contact Norcal approach 120.905.
Norcal 120.905, 1399.
2095. Airport 12 o'clock at 12 miles. Report when you have it in sight.
And put in sight, Alaska 1201.
Alaska 1201 is cleared. Visual approach, runway 28 left, and contact Portland Tower on 123.77.
Cleared visual approach 28 left, and contact Portland Tower 123.77, Alaska 1201.
Number 234 Charlie Lima, Seattle Center, roger.
Norcal approach, Cheyenne 1399, 7000.
Number 1399er, Norcal approach, thank you, Stock altimeter 3011.
3011, 1399er. Alright, so 3 is tree, 9 is niner. That's really the only differences. Well, 5 would be fife if you want to be, no one says that. But on PilotEdge, they usually do say tree and niner. Sometimes I'll hear fife on VATSIM, but VATSIM in the real world is just way more laxed. But on PilotEdge, they want everything black and white, by the book, which I like. I like structure. I like structure, so at least I know what to expect and what to say. And you'll hear these guys, it sounds like they're getting on to people, but they're not. They're just trying to teach people the proper ways of doing things, even though it might be just a, a small thing like saying with you, or they'll say that's unnecessary. It takes up airtime that could be critical for someone else to need, that type of thing. So when we get closer to...
It looks like your need for an IFR, right? That's right.
Yeah, see, that's because I'm in the I'm in the clouds, which is why I needed the IFR. Now, I could have flown under these clouds in VFR or above them if I would have found a hole to punch through. So you can fly VFR and go through a hole and still be perfectly legal. Sometimes I'll do VFR with flight following, which is basically radar services but without all the restrictions. So ATC will give flight following advisories if time permits, and if they don't have like a ton of airplanes that they're controlling, then they'll do it. But flight following is not a guarantee. It's a what would be the word? It's they do it just to be helpful, I guess. But on PilotEdge, yes, exactly. On PilotEdge, they do it 90% of the time. Very rare have I heard them say, sorry, too busy. On VATSIM, if you ask for flight following, very rare do you get it. So it's actually, in real world, you get it all the time. PilotEdge, you get it all the time. But on VATSIM, there's just so much traffic that they won't want to give you advisories because they're constantly having to watch your altitude. It says flight following, there's no restrictions. You can go all the way up to 17,500 or fly at 3,000, and you can bounce in between as long as you're not flying into like a Bravo or a Charlie airspace. So PilotEdge, they don't make a big deal out of it. So yeah, VFR I would be flying lower.
That, with VFR flying, it's always a
109 Gecko Albuquerque ground. Which GRM?
Hang on, this is still so freaking loud. It's a little better. What was that?
All right, so it's still. Are you at?
I was saying that
Cutter or down
flying
at?
Seems like it could always end up becoming IFR
or Golf. Which is your taxiway off?
Well, like right now, if I took off,
taxi via Foxtrot.
if I took off VFR, and then if it got really cloudy like it is now, then I would have picked up the IFR in the air. So I could have filed this flight plan, attempted VFR, and then if I would have realized I was flying into all these clouds, then I could have requested IFR in the air, and he would have just either put together an IFR flight plan or given me the one that I submitted.
Cheyenne 1399er, contact Norcal approach 135.65.
135.65, Cheyenne 1399. 13565. Only thing I didn't do there was I didn't read back the proper ID, but that's okay. Marcus knows me now. All right.
Number 77 Lima, what's your indicated airspeed?
So now this is like VFR conditions. So technically I could cancel my IFR right now and just say I want to go VFR. If we can keep advisories or whatever, I could do that, and then I'd have to navigate all this airspace. So right now I'm just going to stick IFR because I'm close enough.
Number 139er Norcal approach, the Half Moon Bay altimeter 3013 after Sunol, proceed direct to Woodside VOR. Say request when you're able.
You wouldn't gain a lot, so I'm going to end up
3013.
getting very complicated.
I'm sorry, what was the rest? 1399?
Yes, we're now just advise when you have the weather and approach request if you have one.
Roger, 1399. Let me see.
Departure, Vision Jet 77 Lima.
Sorry, there's quite a bit of lag, so I can end up stepping over you.
Yeah, there's like 5-second lag, I think, so it's hard to tell.
Maintain VFR at appropriate VFR altitudes.
3013, he gave me that.
Navigation and
so to adjust that altimeter.
Altitude 77 Lima.
Alaska 1201, right turn, or correction, straight ahead on Echo 3.
We'll do a
right
RNAV approach just for fun.
Again, Alaska 1201, straight ahead on Echo, right
do
turn Echo
RNAV
3,
30 from CPIT.
My frequency. Have a great day.
Norcal approach, Cheyenne 1399, current with weather at Half Moon Bay, request RNAV, runway 30 from SAPIT.
Got about a handful of you guys calling at the same time. November 139er, say request.
RNAV 30 from SAPIT 1399.
November 139er, roger, depart Sunol, direct SAPID.
Depart Sunol, direct to SAPID 1399. Alright, so Sunol is right there. So we're going to do a procedure, an approach, 30 from SAPID, which is IAF, that's initial approach fix. We'll load it, I'm not going to activate it yet. So after Sunol, we'll go direct to SAPID. I always say it wrong, apparently. Alright. And Half Moon Bay's weather is 127.27.
Multiple aircraft calling again, Horizon Air 2216 Medford, say again.
Half Moon Bay weather. Wind 320 at 6. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 33,000.
Horizon Air 2216, runway 14, taxi to Alpha.
2.7. Altimeter 3012.
I think somebody's calling in Seattle, but you must be pretty distant from the the receiver.
Alright, so we got the weather, and I need the... Where's it at?
It's unreadable.
HAF. Half Moon Bay. Airport CTAP should be 122.8 unless it changed. No. So we're going to land 30 using this RNAV approach 30, which is an LPV. LPV is a simulated glide slope like an ILS. If it doesn't have LPV, then it doesn't have a glide path illustrated by that dotted glide path. And we can take this down to 327 radar altitude or 381 MSL, which is our minimums. So we have to see the runway or lights or something by then. And we're taking it from the initial approach fix at Sapid. Can't do it from the intermediate fix at Jumba because of the Bravo airspace. So you have to go to Sapid on this approach. Let me reset my heading here.
So is this a non-precision?
Spirit Wings 518, thank you, sir.
Yeah, the RNAV approaches are not, they're getting to where they can be precision, but they're not there yet. So precision is only ILS or CAT 1 through 3. RNAVs are much better nowadays, like RMPs are...
There's somebody trying to reach Seattle
RMPs,
Center.
I guess, would be precision approaches because the equipment in the airliner, like my Airbus, is RMP capable, which means it can have a degree of variance, very minor degree of variance, and only RMPs like that. Let me go to heading mode, and then we'll go to Sapid after Sanal. So RMPs are very, very good, but wait a second here. Sapid, so flight plan, Sapid. Dang it. All right, I'm an idiot, come on. Menu,
Number
activate.
436 Julia Bravo, Seattle Center on request, your number 2, standby.
Nav.
Horizon Air 2216,
Alright, so we had crossed over Sanal. He didn't tell me to descend, so we still maintain 7,000 until he tells us otherwise.
Do you ever find yourself getting forgotten and
Citation 118 with you, Mike Grand Junction ground is cleared to Centennial Airport, Junction
on
7, Grand
VATSIM,
Junction 7
it does happen.
Transition, then it's filed.
Not,
maintain 14,000.
it's happened on PilotEdge maybe 5 times in the 2 years. Very rare do they forget about you, but you know, you pay for this level of competency, so you know, you don't want them to forget about you. In the real world, if they forget about you, you know, that you could be dead. So these guys are very, very good. Maybe 5 times I've been forgotten about.
Thanks, you're back correct.
And all you got to do is remind them, like, if you're at your top of descent and they haven't given you the authority to descend, then you just request lower, and then they'll give you lower. So sometimes if you take off going from tower to departure, tower is supposed to hand you off, and that counts as one of those 5 times that it's happened to where he forgot, like he gave me clearance to take off and then he totally forgot to hand me over to the departure controller, and then I just say, did I miss a handoff? And he'll say, no, go ahead to Norcal or whatever. So every now and then, you know, they'll forget, but it's not an issue. It's, you always fly the plane first, aviate, navigate, and communicate.
Bravo, Seattle Center is cleared to the Payne Airport as filed.
Let me see what these...
Climb and maintain 12,000. Departure with Seattle Center 126.6.
So Jumda is 3,800.
Hold for release.
So you only will get the glide path at the final approach fix, which in this case is Walleye. So 3,300 is what we'll set the autopilot altitude for Walleye. Jumda is 3,800. The MEA for Sapid is going to be around 4,000, because that's what that 3,800 means. It's a safe altitude for obstacles.
Just good, departure 2216, have a good one. Number 77 Lima, contact Phoenix approach 133.57.
how often do you end up
33.5777 Lima.
using the autopilot?
Cascade departure, Horizon Air 2216, 6000.
If I'm flying VFR, if I'm flying, I fly autopilot all the time because when there's altitude restrictions, unless I'm, hang on one second.
Descend to maintain 5,000.
Descend to maintain 5,000, 1399. 5,000.
Number 13909 across Sapid at or above 5,000. Clear the RNAV 30 approach Half Moon Bay.
Cross Sapid at or above 5,000. Cleared RNAV 30 approach 1399. All right.
I got two others calling. Sorry, guys.
Take out the throttle here. That's just the gear horn. I forgot your question. What was your question, Tom?
Horizon Air 2216, contact Seattle Center 121.4. 1214, 2216. Spirit Wings 518, contact Seattle approach 125.6.
So VFR rules, anything less than 3,000 AGL, you can fly at any altitude. There's no altitude rules pertaining to that. So I'll hand fly anything less than 3,000. Above 3,000, then you have to fly the even plus 500 or the odd plus 500. And I just find it way easier. Just have my bays. Altimeter is 3013, so we're good on that. I find it way easier to use the autopilot above 3,000 AGL.
Alpha, hold short runway 22.
Otherwise, I'll break all sorts of rules because I'll be looking out the window.
Seattle approach, Spirit Wings 518, 16,800.
But yeah, the VFR rules less than 3,000. There's no restrictions. So like this mountain is like almost 4,000 MSL. So that would be 4, 5, 6, almost like 7,000 MSL. I could hand fly over this mountain if I was VFR, and I'd be fine. 122.8 to C-type, so I'm gonna get that on the ready.
Runway 21 cleared for takeoff. Wind calm.
I think it was 38 or 33 at Woolley, 33 at Woolley, yeah, okay. So bring up Navy tab, so we're coming to Sapid, cross Sapid at or above 5,000, and then Jumbo, we'll dial it down to 38, and then Woolley. So we're at 5,000, so we can reset this for 38. And then we'll descend at 1,500 feet per minute, but we got to wait till after Sapid.
2216, standby.
Turn the seatbelts back on, which you can see from back here. Is kind of cool.
2216, negative. That puts you into the departure, the flow of the aircraft coming out of Portland, unfortunately.
Get the weather updated one last time.
Wind 320 at 7.
3012.
More than 10.
That's fine.
Sky conditions 33,000.
Go with what the sim has for altimeter.
Clearance clear to San Francisco Airport, Mini 5 departure, Eastern transition, then it's filed. Climb and maintain 7,000, departure frequency 118.42, squawk 5276.
Alright, so now he cleared me the approach. So if I wasn't cleared the approach, I would not have been able to fly this.
Zero Mike Echo, contact departure.
So he cleared me the approach, now we can descend down to 38.
Approach Spirit Wings 518, hence Juliet.
Spirit Wings 518, thanks. South 2037, contact LA Center 133.2.
So jump does 3,800. So we're slowly going down to that. So this entire procedure you could do in, you know, just
Number 118
solid
Whiskey, Mike,
clouds.
tower,
And
runway cross.
as long as your altimeter setting is
runway
correct, you won't
22,
slam into a mountain.
27.
But that's why
Cleared
for RNAV
for
approaches,
takeoff. I'm sorry, I'm not getting the
altimeter
wind.
is
Be runway
very, very
29 clear for
important.
takeoff, pardon me.
And then you also have to worry about cold temperatures. The pressure is different. You have to do the cold temperature change. So whatever is actually shown here, you might have to adjust.
Albuquerque departure, radar contact, climb maintain 9,000.
Up to 9,000, 0 Mike Echo.
Number 139er, no traffic observed between you and Half Moon Bay. Report cancellation of IFR, missed approach airborne this frequency. Cancel on the ground with 5 minutes of landing on 122.2. Change of IFR frequency is approved.
Roger, and cancel IFR at this time, 1399.
Southwest 2037, contact LA Center 133.2. Number 139er, IFR cancellation is received. Radar service is terminated. Squawk and maintain VFR, frequency change approved.
Squawk and maintain VFR, frequency change approved, 1399. We'll see it. Alright, so we're going to squawk 1200. We're going to go to CTAF 122.8. Half Moon Bay traffic, Cheyenne 139. Established on the RNAV 30 approach, Half Moon Bay. Alright.
So did you request that cancel of IFR, or were you told to cancel?
I requested. So I had you have two options with the IFR landing into a untowered airport. You can keep the IFR hold, which if it was really bad weather and cloudy, I would have kept it. Let me go to flaps 1 here. Just because it would prohibit anyone from taking off on runway 12, which is the ODP for Half Moon Bay is 12. So if someone was taking off IFR, they could take off right at me. So I would keep the IFR, and the controller would prevent anyone from taking off IFR. Now, being that the weather is pretty decent here and I can see, I'm not worried about anyone taking off in front of me. And so I said, go ahead and cancel the IFR at this point. So that basically meant that there's no control over Half Moon Bay. Like, he's not preventing anyone from depart. Well, he might be. There could be someone at Half Moon Bay on an IFR hold right now, or just fixing to take off. But let me make sure this turns. Okay. But if he doesn't, see, that makes no difference, because even if they release him, they're going to go to CTAF and they're going to know I'm coming in. So so it was my decision to cancel the IFR.
Essentially, by cancelling the IFR, you're making it sort of more efficient.
Yeah, I'm cutting down the workload on him, because if I were to have waited to cancel the IFR, that's actually 33, isn't it? 3,300 feet at Woolley, coming up to Woolley. So if I would have waited on the ground, I'd have to use that simulated telephone call again, and it would I would use 122.2 on the ground after I landed, and I would have said cancel IFR. I'm on the ground. But I have notes that reminds me to cancel IFR if I don't do it in the air, because that's a bad thing to land and then disconnect and not cancel the IFR, because now anyone that's on the ground trying to take off, they're under a hold because of my IFR hold. So, all right, so we're coming up to that, so we can arm approach, and that will capture the LPV glide path at Woolley. And I didn't have to do an RNAV approach. I could cancel this RNAV approach if I wanted to. I'm just doing it to show you guys the LPV aspect of it. So it kind of acts like an ILS, but it's not. So it should take us down once we cross over it.
I've certainly done non-precision approaches in DCS with just the altimeter and DME.
Yeah, that DME approaches, localizer DME approaches are not the easiest thing, but a lot of those approaches are going away. Like everything is going to RNAV eventually. A lot of VORs are being decommissioned and stuff. All right, you can see it's like acting like a glide path.
I'm not familiar with RNAV.
RNAV approaches, it uses GPS instead of radio signals like an ILS. That's the only difference. So not all RNAV approaches has a vertical attribute to it, like the LPV. It will give you GPS vertically, to cross waypoints at certain altitudes, but not all of them do that.
I see.
Half Moon Bay traffic, Cheyenne 139, 2 mile final, runway 30, full stop, Half Moon Bay. Alright, so we're going to turn the autopilot off, yaw damper off, and we're going to hand fly it in from here. And we're going to go flaps almost full, props full. And landing lights, taxi lights. If you have your ortho photos on an SSD drive, you don't get that lag. This is the only ortho I have on an HHD drive. That's why it takes a second to load it in if I turn my head quickly. But I'm waiting for Orbix to release their Southern California, and then I can delete the rest of the ortho I have for Southern California and put it all on my SSD. All right, 3 green.
Looks pretty good.
What was that? Oh, it looks good? Yeah. Yeah, no, this is...
the terrain.
Yeah, this is payware. So it was like $50, but I got it on sale actually. It was like half price. I got it for $25, and then this Half Moon Bay Airport is a payware airport also. You have the PAPI lights, 2 red, 2 whites.
Feels like quite a steep approach.
Yeah, I was sightseeing. I have 4 whites, so that means I'm high. So I need, there's 1 red. 2 red, 2 white is in most cases, a 3-degree approach.
Yeah, I'm familiar with PAPI lights from DCS.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they do have them.
Plus, I used to do some FSX back in the day.
So yeah, the only thing I'd have to do ATC wise if I hadn't canceled the IFR in the air would be to go to 122.2 at this point and cancel. Of course, I'll let the Half Moon Bay guys know I'm exiting the runway. Half Moon Bay traffic, Cheyenne 139 off the runway, taxiing to parking, Half Moon Bay. But there is a ton of free ortho. You can do a search on the org for USA ortho scenery. I'll put a link to it. And most of my ortho, with the exception of...
I noticed there's quite a lot for California, actually.
Yeah. Well, Orbix... Oh, yeah, it's Fork Boys Ortho is the ortho I would recommend because he's done all the work for you, cleaning up the clouds, so you won't see the clouds on the ground. But if you download your own ortho, then you have to, you know, get rid of the clouds yourself. So let me get that link for you. You have to, it takes a while to download, and then you have to transfer or convert rather from, I think it's JPEG to DDS or SSDDS textures.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. All right, where is it?
Direct draw surface.
Oh. I think I found here's the link. So this is, except for the ortho that you're looking at right now, which is Orbix, which is payware. This is where I got all my ortho. Most of it is United States. Swiss cheese, hey buddy. Sorry I missed you. Vertical Simulations does some good ortho stuff. Oh, you must have just said something now. Okay. Yeah, Vertical Simulations has great sceneries, and he also has free ortho for the States. That's a good point. Yeah, but yeah, that was a good point. If you have a link to that Swiss cheese, if you want to put a link to the verticals, it's a good idea. So this scenery comes with a hangar, so I set up the hangar the way I wanted it, which is kind of cool. I think this scenery on the org is probably on sale right now, but even when it's not, it's only like 20 bucks, I think. Yeah, this, I literally have, not even counting the computer I built for this sim, I have over $1,000 in just scenery and add-ons and airplanes easily. It's like when Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 advertised, I was like, man, after all that money I put into this, I'll just end up flying both.
You must have a similar amount in DCS.
Yeah, I'm not too far behind you. I've got, in DCS, I've got the A10, the 18, the P51, and now the supercarrier. Turn those off, turn
I
those
have
off.
The A10, the Mirage, the F-15, the F-16.
Thanks, Swiss cheese.
All of the helicopters, all of the warbirds.
Yeah, you like the choppers. Maybe we could do a mission sometime where you bring in troops, like in a chopper or something. Or is it your chopper in like an attack chopper?
Yeah, that could be fun. I often prefer flying the transport ones.
You prefer the transport ones?
But I think I find them more interesting.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be kind of fun to have you like bring in troops or something while Will and I take out I'll have to coordinate that with Will to figure out how to maybe have like a 2-stage mission where the first part of the mission you're bringing in troops, and then the second part of the mission you're in an F-16. That'd be kind of fun.
That could be fun. But yeah, what I like about helicopters is they're really hard work to fly. I really like the kind of hands-on aspect of them.
Yeah. Yep, that's the same reason I don't want them.
Yeah, I'm more of a flying kind of person than a systems kind of person.
Yeah, and I'm more about the systems. All right, avionics, fuel cutoff, batteries are off. No, they're not. Now they're off. And then, before I forget, finish the flight so I get paid for it. Then we go to disconnect.
Disconnected.
A sideways. How you doing, man? Yeah, it has been a while. What you been up to? All right, then we do a replay. You always got to make sure you sign offline before you do your replay, because it will pop you back in the air on the radar screens. So like a PilotEdge controller would see this airplane just all of a sudden appear in the air. So always disconnect, whether it be PilotEdge or VATSIM.
Then they'll go, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be like, oh, there goes another replay. You've been busy, Slideways. You're doing a lot of X economy. I do a lot of FS economy around the 20th of every month, because that's when my FS economy bills are due. Like my Eclipse is a $20,000 a month lease, so I do a lot of FS economy just to make up for that bill. And then the rest of the month I just do fun flights, and I do very little FS economy, probably about 6-7 flights a month maybe. Let's see what that looks like from passenger view. It happens to me a lot of times and got kicked many times. You going offline? Yeah. Yes, I will be. Yeah, that's why you got to remember. I have it on my checklists to sign offline before I do my replay. I'll show you what San Francisco looks like with the AI, and then I'll call it a day on the stream there. Let's go to San Francisco so we can see some airplanes. We'll go over here to the GA ramp. Start new. You got some planes? Oh yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Yeah, I have too many planes. There's like 11 planes on my Twitch description that shows the planes that I fly most commonly. There's like 11 of them. I need to assign a key. This would be, where is it at? Traffic Global, views. Maybe it's not, maybe it's config. Here we go. Be insert, I believe. Yeah, so these are the airplanes. I don't know where he's going. But it brings my airports to life, and it also has the noises. That's the main thing.
Where's traffic coming from?
These are, the developers took just thousands of flights, pre-recorded flights, and embedded it into the sim. So they're not using real-world tracking. These are real-world flights, but they're not happening right now. There's other AI out there that will do that. But the reason I wanted this is because the sounds are so good, and the animations are really good. Of course, my airport has static aircraft. That's why there's two, like that thing. But I could go into the airport and delete those if I really wanted to. He's totally, I don't know what he's doing. Usually it takes about 10 minutes for the operations to be a lot better. Like, you go to the flight schedule. Well, that's not right. What if I do...
How does it cope with the fact that the flights were taken at different times of day with different active runways and stuff?
Okay, yeah, that's one of my biggest... Looks like it just updated. That's my biggest gripe with this, is that it doesn't use the best method to select the airport flows. It uses the airport data found in the WED, which is the airport editor. So you have to learn WED and try to adjust the wind rules, and the airport developers will set those up in most cases. So like this is a Mr. X airport. So in most cases, this will work pretty good, and you just set for like a wind calm. It's just like I end up coming up here and going to settings before I take off and just getting rid of all the traffic. You still have the sounds, but you get rid of the traffic. That way you don't have airplanes taking off in the opposite direction than you. Like here goes a guy, he's taking off a 19er right. And that's pretty legitimate. They usually do take off on that runway. And it has all the jet blast, which is kind of cool. And the gear will come up. Eventually. Here it goes. Bet it's updated now. Yeah, now we're at San Francisco. So you got departures like 1330, 1329. Double click on it, you just push back. So it's not the best by any means, but it has great sounds. And when you're in your aircraft, you can adjust the internal volume for the sounds. So it's pretty cool. And Sideways says, I really want to take a 767 on X-plane or a TBM. Well, the 767 is way more expensive than a TBM. The 767, you're going to spend over $100. The TBM, 60. And unless you want long haul, if you want long haul, I would wait till Flight Factor releases their A350, which should be sometime this month, hopefully. but I have been sitting here way past my abilities. My back is on fire. So hopefully, I know I gave you a shit ton of information, Tom, so if you want to cover specific things, I do this every day. So
It
if
was
you want
very
me to,
interesting. Thank you.
oh, much appreciated. I mean, I enjoy teaching, which is one of the reasons I have this channel. So as you get more and more into this, if you want me to cover something more specific, I know I covered like 20 different things. So if you want me to cover something more specific, like how to read a specific SID, for example, like just maybe one departure, I'd be more than happy to help you out with any type of procedures, and I'll do the best I can.
I'll probably start with the VFR side of it, as I say, I'm more into the flying than the system.
Right. So let me see if I can. Let me find one thing before I go, which is. So this is VATSTAR. This is where I got my start. I'm going to put this in the description. So this is great training, and it's free, and it's made for VATSIM specifically. So you could start with, if I can open this. Why is it? All right, there we go. VATSIM 3 is VFR flying. So you have to do the fundamentals first. And then you have to do 1 and 2 first before you can do 3. And then 4. Now, if you want to learn on a professional network like PilotEdge, then you would just follow these CAT ratings.
I think I'd probably start on VATSIM.
Okay, so on VATSIM, start with VATSTAR and just go through their lesson plans. For P3, you have to hold P2 and P1, and that's P3 is your VFR. So it has all this great information about VFR training and how it relates to VATSIM. And here's VATSIM. Boston is a great place to learn. Let me Boston is a great place to learn. They also have their own training, but Boston is online all the time. So, go through this training and then use Boston, which is 134.7 most of the time, to fly anywhere in this airspace. There's so many airports in here. You got Boston Regional, you got all sorts of airports, because these guys will provide you ATC. And then, of course, if you want to fly over here, these guys are online all the time. You got England, Germany, and France. So these guys are all on. So but I don't know, like I can't really help you with this. I know the basics, but most of obviously my experience is over here.
And I'd probably learn in like the US first, because all of the documentation is around US rules. There's a lot less about European rules as far as I can find.
Yeah, yeah, and plus if you want to learn the US stuff, I can help you because I know just enough to do, an IFR from airport to airport over here, but even that's confusing. I'm trying to do a like once a month, twice a month to do a around the world tour. Like I'll be doing it's in my chat, world tour. I'm going to be doing a France flight on Friday if I feel up to it. But yeah.
First of all, I have to work out how to fix X-Plane.
Yeah. I mean, I find it more necessary to have multiple monitors. VR is, even Will was getting frustrated with VR trying to do the ATC stuff. If you just want to fly VR, is one thing, but learning the ATC stuff, I think you'll find easier without VR. And then once you know it, then it'll be easier because then it's so hard in VFR to get buttons pushed right, and it's a hassle.
Okay, that's interesting.
All right, guys.
I'm used to it being fairly easy in DCS. It's one of the things that DCS does fairly well.
Yeah. Yep, that's for sure. It is simplified in that. So much airspace to learn. But I'm gonna go take a break and let me know if you want me to touch on something next time, and we'll cover it.
Cool. Thanks, Chase.
All right, bud. Swiss cheese, sideways. Y'all have a good day, and we'll see y'all later. Thanks, Tom. See you next time.